And oh, myself, I'm here. Mr. Mr. Ansel will be here in a moment. He is currently not present, but he shall be joining us shortly. Okay, so let's get this meeting started. We're going to start with public comment. First person for public comment is Sarah. Who's the first person for public comment?
It's Jonathan Charnas, I believe is his name.
Okay, so Mr. Chernus, yes,
Yes,
please.
thank you very much. Good evening. My name is John Chernus. I live on South Braddock Avenue, right by the corner with Melrose Street. I'm here because the situation on my block has become intolerable for me, and the inaction from the police and the borough I feel is unacceptable. Every day for hours, a group of young men loiters at the corner, shouting at cars, obstructing traffic, littering the sidewalk and our yards, extensive trespassing, harassing residents. I've had trash dumped on my porch, recycling bins stolen, sticky food smeared across the sidewalk. My girlfriend was called a slur for ignoring one of these people when he demanded that she give him her e-cigarette. We're now uncomfortable every time we leave our house. They have urinated on my property repeatedly. They've thrown full water bottles at my windows with enough force to burst them. They've keyed my car, thrown soda cans directly at it. In addition to degrading the neighborhood, the situation presents serious safety risks. The young men are frequently unsupervised. Some of them are very young. They're darting between lanes of traffic to approach cars and retrieve thrown bottles. They're stopping vehicles in an active intersection, creating the potential for accidents or injuries to themselves. If a child gets hit by a car or harmed in some way while the borough continues to ignore this, I think the responsibility will fall on the borough and the police. I have photos and video evidence of some of this from a security camera. I've called 911 multiple times at the behest of the Swissvale police. The response has been nothing. One officer told me he had the audacity to tell me that there were no ordinances that could be enforced. And that's a lie because Swissvale has a lot of clear laws on the books that address just this sort of thing. They're posted on the website. For example, Section 6, 202, and 204 prohibit disorderly conduct, including quote unquote annoyance or discomfiture to inhabitants, loitering, including blocking sidewalks, which is happening. Chapter 10 prohibits loud, disturbing noise, including shouting and yelling at any time of day if it happens to quote unquote annoy or disturb the quiet, comfort, or repose of persons, which it is. Uh, there's also prohibitions on dumping, debris, and hawking. And this activity clearly doesn't fall under any of the stated exceptions to the hawking rules. So these are all enforceable ordinances. Nothing's being enforced. The police even told me I would have to track down the kids in the neighborhood if I wanted anything done. And what am I supposed to do? Follow kids around in my neighborhood like I'm a stalker? I think that's absurd and insulting. I think this is an embarrassment. It makes Swissvale look lawless. These young men and their parents should be held accountable. And I'm not the only neighbor that feels this way. I'm now actively considering selling my home and leaving Swissvale because of this, but I don't even know if I can sell the house because there's so much loitering, screaming, vandalism, trash, stolen shopping carts in the front lawns. My neighbors are also extremely frustrated with the situation. I'm asking you to do what the police are not doing, which is to enforce the law and protect us. I would like you to send a message that Swissvale won't tolerate this kind of public disorder. And I'm sorry, but if the problem is not resolved promptly, I'm going to have no choice but to escalate my complaints, to go to the local news if they'll listen to me, the county and state health departments, child protective services about young unattended children hanging out in the street. And I'll have to post my concerns to Facebook, Nextdoor, other social media, real estate forums, and so on. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chernus. I'm going to ask the police of chief of police to address you during his section of our meeting so that he can address you thoroughly. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. And the second person, is that you, Mr. Bush?
Expect so.
Yes, it is Mr. Bush.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Seth Bush. I live on Woodstock Avenue. I have a couple things to share in my comment, but it's good to see my neighbor Jonathan here. I live right around the corner from him and can verify that this is starting to become an issue. Some entrepreneurial youth in our neighborhood, who I believe are largely raising money for football, have been making it not the most constructive thing for our community. So we'd love to find a constructive way to work with these youth to behave better. What I do want to focus on is first, thank you to Mr. Batchy for moving forward the process of creating the Transportation Advisory Committee. I know it's on the agenda for discussion tonight, and I look forward to seeing that approved by council next week. I know you've been working hard on making the ordinance for that, so thank you. The second thing I want to share is another plan I've been working on, actually longer than the active transportation plan, since late 2021, is Swissvale's Climate Action Plan, alongside of Councilwoman Sean Alfonso Wells. It is almost done, finally. I will spare you the boring details of why it took so darn long. They'll be happy to chat about it if you're curious. Greg's going to have more details in his report. It's going to be on the agenda for the meeting at the end of August, I believe. I just wanted to share the important thing for you to know and for others to know is that a group of residents has worked with Councilwoman Alfonso Wells, Connect, and a state-sponsored intern, actually a couple, to gather input from over 300 Swissvalians about their concerns related to climate change and what solutions they want to see Swissvale work on. A couple years ago, we did a pretty large canvassing operation. We were out at various community events gathering input. Then we lost some momentum on actually doing anything with that input when our intern wrapped up. But Mr. Eric Robb at Connect has helped us revisit the draft, refresh it. He's had some new tools and resources to help us do that, make updates, and we've been getting it finally polished and done over the past few months with input from several Swissvale residents, reviewers who have come back out of the woodworks from our original committee to help us get it done. We didn't quite have the finishing touches done in time for this meeting, but you will be receiving a draft to review within the next few weeks that is nearly complete. I'm very proud of it. I think it looks great. A lot of thought has gone into it. So please take a look. Let us know what you think so we can finalize it in time for your August agenda meeting. And I'll just say my favorite part is that it highlights several actions we've already accomplished here in Swissvale since we started thinking about the climate action plan. Like, just because we haven't had it officially written and adopted doesn't mean we haven't been working on it. So we actually take account of that in our current plan and celebrate some of the work that's been done. So I hope we can use that as motivation to keep going, because now more than ever, we have a lot of important work to do. And finally, I want to invite council and everyone watching to a community meeting on Tuesday, August 19th at 6 p.m. in Swissvale at the Carey Furnace Powerhouse. It's about the Hazelwood to Carey Furnace Trail development. It's led by Friends of the Riverfront. This trail is going to connect Swissvale to downtown Pittsburgh via Hazelwood, and then later in the other direction all the way to Westmoreland County, eventually all the way to Blairsville. You'll be able to bike all the way on trail from Blairsville past Swissvale through Hazelwood to downtown Pittsburgh. It's going to be a major asset for our borough. So come learn about the plans, what's next for that development. I will put the link in the chat so folks can see it, and I hope Sarah and others, please share it on your social media. Please tell the people about it, because it's really, really cool that they're even that's coming through Swissvale, and it's great that they're actually holding the meeting in Swissvale, technically right near where the trail is going to be. So that's what I got. Thanks for all your good work. Look forward to hearing your discussion later.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. All righty. So that was very intense public comment. So now we're going to get to our agenda items, and we have agenda item A, discuss appointing a legislative liaison with the Pennsylvania Municipal League. Mr. Batchy.
Thank you, ma'am. The Pennsylvania Municipal League, Swissvale is a member of it. They're an organization that advocates for changes in laws and other things that affect government in Pennsylvania, try to advocate for things that improve government and improve the boroughs throughout the Pennsylvania. What they're asking is for each municipality and each member municipality to appoint a legislative liaison, and basically that person would be the point of contact between council and the municipal league. They're basically asking for someone who can keep council up to date on pending legislation at the state level and provide feedback to the municipal league so that they can take a position on these issues which affect municipalities. They tend to do that now. They take a position on things, but I guess there's been some criticism that they're not really reaching out to the member municipalities to find out if that is actually what all the member municipalities feel. So they want to do this for better communication, better transparency with all their members, and they would like a person to do that, and it can be a council or staff person. They basically will provide updates to the selected individual of all current and pending legislation, going through the House, going through the Senate, and going for a vote. So question is, is there someone that would like to do that, or would you like me and or Sarah to do that?
When are the meetings?
That was my question. And how often?
It doesn't require meeting attendance. It just requires you to be a liaison with council, and keep abreast of pending legislation at the state level, and then pass that on to your colleagues, in a pretty quick manner when the municipal league looks for a vote. Looks to develop their position on the subject.
How up to date are you on keeping track of all the different things that are happening in municipalities, Mr. Batchy?
Well, just as up to date as what they provide. I mean, I do get that email currently, from them that they would provide to the liaison. And I mean, if that's something you want, Sarah and I to document when it comes in, here's everything that the municipal league is working on, and we can send that out to you weekly. And you could give us feedback on it, and then if they're asking us for our opinion, then we know, for those of you who gave feedback, we know what our position is collectively.
I think that sounds like a plan.
I think it should be elected. I think it should be elected.
An elected official to gather all that information and send it out to all of the people so that we can all hear it.
Yeah.
That it sounds like that might be what Mr. Batchy is doing at the moment.
Right, that's what that sounds like.
I don't think he's not doing that. And then he'd send it all to us, which he kind of does also.
Well, the emails would go to whoever the person is that's selected, and then that would be that person's responsibility to disseminate that to all of council for an opinion.
Well, I think that for right now we can think on it, and then or as a council we can decide which is best, if one of us does it or if we leave it for you to gather all the information and disseminate it to us. But I don't think we have to make a decision now. Sounds like something we can think on and then get back to you with it. When do they need a decision by?
They would like it as soon as possible. They didn't put a deadline on it. So the question is, do you want to make it an agenda item for next week, or just leave it off and we'll talk about it at the end of August and then make it an agenda item for September?
I think we need to cogitate on it for a moment, and we could probably make it an agenda item for next week, but I think that mostly I think we can probably come to a decision about it just in terms of the practicality of what it entails. But I don't see anybody with any strong opinions right at the moment from my glancing around.
I think
But
I expressed one.
Yes, that's one. And then there's the other four kind of like.
I just think if you've already been involved, then someone who is in the administration would kind of just carry that on and just, like you said, just send it out to us, whether they do it on a monthly basis or quarterly. Or depending on whether, they may not have any information to provide. But I don't think with all that we do, that's something that we need to just add on top of everything else that we do. I think you or Sarah is most capable to be able to provide us that information for us as you do all the other stuff. So that's my opinion.
And I second that. I don't see the point in making it more complicated than it needs to be, honestly.
Anyone else? All right, we'll keep cogitating on that and we'll leave it at that for the moment.
Cogitate mean not put it on the agenda for next week, or
where's Chris?
Let's hold off a minute.
I don't think we need to necessarily put it on the agenda for next week. I think I could tell you probably by the end of this, but in the meantime, I think you have been curating all of the information, and I don't see that there would be much of a change in that, but we can cogitate on it for the moment. And by the end of the meeting, we should be able to decide whether we're putting it on the agenda for a vote, I guess. For next week, decide whether or not the PML will be an elected official or if it can be our staff that will collect the information and give it to all of the elected officials. So one way or another. Brittany, I see your mic has just gone.
I was going to say, why don't we just put it on the agenda? Because we can table it if we feel like we need to, but put it on the agenda and just go from there.
Yeah,
put it on the agenda. Put it on the agenda. Agenda item number, whatever.
I will just make it a blank line that says appoint blank to position of
Point. Got you.
legislative liaison.
Thank you very much, Mr. Batchy. And now we will go to agenda item B, discuss a site distance issue at Columbia Avenue and Westmoreland Avenue.
So it's been brought to my attention that there's been some issues, a couple of accidents over the past 3 years. I think it was 3 accidents in 2 years at the intersection of Westmoreland and Columbia. And a question of, can we do something to improve the sight distance? One of the suggestions was put a stop sign there, which I would not recommend because of the steepness of the hill. And trying to start out on that. And the other thing too is once you put a stop sign in there, then everybody's going to want one all the way up. And it's going to make traveling that road a little difficult, I think, for the, for pickup trucks, SUVs, stuff that's rear wheel drive. Because if it's a little bit wet, you're going to spin the tires. I have a pickup truck. When I start out on a hill, the tires spin all the time, especially on a steep hill. One of the things we looked at was possibly eliminating a parking space on Columbia Avenue. If you're traveling on Westmoreland going toward South Braddock Avenue, so you're coming up to the stop sign at Columbia, you'd be looking to the right, looking down the hill. If we eliminate a parking space there in front of a vacant lot, so it's already currently painted yellow and there's a sign that says no parking about 25 feet down. If we extend that another 25 feet in front of the vacant lot, it will give you pretty good sight distance looking all the way down, or at least halfway down Columbia, to see if those vehicles are coming up. So if this was something council would want to do, we would need to advertise an ordinance to restrict parking in that area, and then adopt the ordinance, and then of course paint the line and move the sign. We'd just have to move the sign 25 feet, extend the yellow line 25 feet. So just putting it out there for feedback, anybody's thoughts.
Have we asked the residents on that street who use the parking spaces what they think about that?
We have not. It's not, we typically don't ask the residents because the residents will all, we know what the answer is. It's just going to be, don't eliminate parking. But it's, we're talking about a site safety issue, site distance. And like I said, it is in front of a vacant lot. It will eliminate a parking space that someone does. I've seen various cars there. So, numerous people use that space. But you have to look at it as a safety issue. Do you feel it's a safety issue, and do you want to address the safety issue?
All right, open for discussion.
So I've gotten a lot of complaints about that over the years. Sorry, I'm driving. I didn't look down. I apologize. And that is in front of a vacant lot. There is a wide variety of cars that do park there. There are some that are larger that make it even more complicated to look down the hill. But I've gotten a lot of complaints and concerns from those of us that live up on the hill.
I just think safety is the top priority. I think sacrificing a parking space in the name of safety is just worth it to me in the long run.
I was just going to say, I agree. I think that getting rid of the parking space would be a better option than the stop sign, and just agreeing with the reasons that you put out, Greg.
Do we need to do a traffic study on that, Greg?
No, you don't do traffic studies to eliminate parking spaces.
Okay, well, let's put that on agenda for next week.
Okay, so that won't be an agenda item. That'll just be, we'll just go ahead and advertise it, and then we'll have the agenda item as to adopt the ordinance at the September meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right. Item number C, discuss a resolution to apply for funding under the GEDTF grant program, which would be Gaming Economic Development Tourism Funds, because I could come up with all kinds of things that could stand for. So we'll go with that.
So the county has opened their GEDTF, Gaming Economic Development Tourism Funds grant program from August 4th to August 22nd. The deadline, that's the time frame you're allowed to apply. Our staff department heads discussed this in our staff meeting last week, and we came up with 2 things that would be good for this program. One is to apply for about 10 demolitions. and demolish 10 homes with the money. That'd be about 150,000. The other thing is the other project would be to reconstruct Raymond Street. Raymond Street's probably the worst street in the borough, as far as drainage, as far as the asphalt surface. It's very narrow. It's difficult to get public safety vehicles down there. It's difficult to get the garbage truck down there, and the residents have a lot of difficulty traversing that, especially in the bad weather. It's hard to get a plow truck in there. We do, but it's very difficult. So what we'd like to do is put some drainage in there, put a few storm sewers along there, put a good turnaround at the bottom of it, and widen out the road. I mean, the road's maybe 10 feet wide right now. We could widen it maybe to 12, just because of the topo, the way the way the houses are located and the hillside next to it. I mean, it's kind of limited what we can do, but basically we would take all the pavement out, take some of the base out, put a new base in, put binder and wearing course on top of it. We're probably looking $300,000 to $400,000 project to do that. It's not within the borough's abilities to do this without grant funding. And this this grant source is pretty wide open for the types of things you can do. And this is definitely one of the things you can do with those funds.
Any discussion?
So that'll be 2 agenda items next week to pass 2 separate resolutions.
Seems like I like that idea of being able to fix up an area that doesn't seem to have gotten a lot of attention, and being able to get them back to a better condition, and also, being able to demolish some buildings would be a major plus, because we know that when you have properties that need to be demolished that are just sitting there, they bring down your property value, and they also have other types of issues that are attracted to them, including homelessness and critters, lots of critters. Okay, so yes, let's put that on the agenda for next week too, unless anyone has an objection.
No objections.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's get on. Agenda item D, discuss a resolution to apply for funding under the Main Street Matters Grant Program.
So we applied for this funding last year to update the study on the business district that was done in 2008 by Clavon and Associates, basically to come up with new strategies for development in the business district. How to attract, how to retain, what types of things we should be doing as far as infrastructure improvements. And one of the things I would like to look at is actually go back, look at the phases of the streetscape we've already done on Noble Waverly and Washington Street, and see if there's anything else we could add to it to improve it. Have a consultant look at that. And we'll be looking at $50,000 to $50,000 grant, and a $10,000 local match to do this. But what I also want to do in there too is basically do a design for all the improvements in what we've already done, plus Monongahela, maybe Church, Roslyn, to extend this to try to get people back into the business district. And we did a little streetscape group last year to talk about what we want to do on Monongahela Avenue, and I'm working on, or I'm sorry, I already submitted that. The deadline's tomorrow, but I submitted it last week. The next phase of the streetscape for the Sherman block, where we were looking to underground the utilities there, basically clean up the blight of overhead power lines. There's a bunch of steel poles, your old trolley poles. All that will be addressed under that. But I'd like to actually, we had a working group with Ms. Swartzwelder and Mayor Swartzwelder participated last year, and a number of residents. And we came up with some phasing plans and that for Monongahela. But I'd like to get that documented, get that, get an overall design for everything. And we say, okay, hey, we can get $500,000 here. Where's there $500,000 worth of work that logically moves forward? And just keep moving this process forward to get Monongahela and the other side of the business district in a much better shape, to make it inviting for new business and to try to attract. So what we'll need there is council would need, if it's your wishes, to apply for that funding it's for a planning grant, not for implementation. we would need to pass a resolution at next week's meeting to apply. And this one's due August 31st.
Any discussion?
What was the
totally
reason why
100%.
it was denied this time?
I'm sorry, Angela, could you repeat
Was
that?
there a reason why the grant was denied?
They didn't have enough funding. They only had $150,000 statewide. So, you know, there was only 3 that they could fund. So it was just, you know, they said they had far more need than they had funds. They do have some more funding this year than they did last year.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely be in support of anything to, you know, bring business and beautify that area. I would support it.
Okay.
I too would support it. And my question would be, are we able to include Noble Street in that plan, or?
Yeah, that was part of what I mentioned, that it would, you know, include the areas it's already done, which is Noble, Waverly, and Washington. So yes, Noble would be part of this.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Would we be, so we would be hiring a firm? This would kind of be similar to like our active transportation plan. Are we going to do like a group?
Yes.
Work with them kind of? Okay.
Yeah, we would hire a consultant, and then we would have a steering committee to work with them. You know, my opinion, you should probably you know, be like members of SEDCO, members of the Rotary, and other interested residents, you know, who want to see the business thrive. Maybe just some business owners who aren't members of those groups, but you know, have a vested interest in the downtown.
Great. Yeah, I think it'll be, if we can get it this time, that would be fantastic, especially to tie everything in with the grants that we've already applied for to start working on those areas. So it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I think this is very timely. Every time I drive through our business districts, I'm looking and trying, and I was just the other day driving down Monongahela, and I said, why does it look the way it does, right? Why can't it look a little bit more put together? And I was thinking of what we could do to make it look more put together. So it would be so advantageous if we can get a working group together to really think about that and think of the different measures that we can take to really make it shine. Because it's not decrepit. It just needs to be kind of like buffed a little bit to bring out its best aspects. You know, we have in each of our different business districts, we have different things that make it distinct. And if we can bring those out and, you know, maybe get rid of those poles, like you said, and some of the distracting things that catch people's eyes, that would be great. So yes, can you please put that on the agenda? Thanks. Chris is going to be like, well, how did all this stuff get on the agenda? All right. Moving along to E, discuss an ordinance to form a transportation advisory committee.
So as Mr. Bush had talked about in his public comment, you know, he had asked if we could consider forming a transportation advisory committee after the active transportation plan was adopted, which the plan was adopted June 4th by council. And there's a number of recommendations there for improvements. And a couple of the things that this advisory committee would do is they would, you know, they would help look for funding and help secure funding for the projects, advise council and the staff on what they feel are the priorities for funding under the active transportation, you know, for improved bicycle facilities, improved pedestrian facilities, and even, you know, transportation facilities on the actual roads themselves. Council has the ultimate say. You don't have to follow their recommendation. They are an advisory committee, just like the Shade Tree Advisory Committee and such. But I think they could, you know, Mr. Bush and I had a long conversation one day about this, you know, about what the role of that committee would be. And I think we came to, you know, he and I had some difference of opinions on some things, but I think we came to a good middle ground on the recommendation, and that was sent out to you, I believe last month. That was sent to you, and then I sent you a proposed ordinance this month that if you want to go ahead and adopt and form the Transportation Advisory Committee, that ordinance has been advertised and it is ready for adoption if that's your choice. Adopting the ordinance will only create the committee. Then we would have to solicit members for the committee, do interviews, and do and then do appointments. We could do that at the September interview at the August agenda meeting, and then make appointments in September.
Okay. Thoughts on this?
I think that the committee would be fantastic. I feel like it's a common thing that we make these plans, or we get plans made and then they kind of sit on a shelf somewhere. But having this transportation committee would be someone to just consistently come back to council, and they would be a little bit they would be more pushy about getting things done, which I think would help us out a lot, because we all have so many things going on that's not always at the forefront of our minds, but that's their purpose. So I think it'll be a great asset.
Other thoughts? I mean, I think Brittany and I were both on the active transportation committee, I believe. We served on a couple of them. I think we were almost on all of the different ones together, but at least this one and another one. Yeah, it seems like it's a good idea for people to cogitate and keep thinking about these things, and remembering to bring them up every once in a while. Hopefully we find interest in it, and people continue to. I think sometimes people work on things when they know there's like a deadline, but I think that would be something that's important for people to continue to consider. So anyone else, any other ideas? Angela?
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I would support it.
All right, Mr. Batchy, do what you do. And now I see that Mr. Ansel has rejoined our meeting, and I shall pass the gavel over to him. Bang, bang. Back to you.
Thank you.
We're on F.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for running the meeting in my absence. I was detained at the Woodland Hills High School with some coaching stuff I had to do there. So we are on 4F, discuss an ordinance and intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Rankin Borough for trash collection.
I'm going to share my screen here so everybody can see what I'm talking about. So the next, as Mr. Ansel said, is a trash collection agreement with Rankin Borough. Is that visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So
yes.
So what we're looking at here is, we talked about this in executive session last month. Rankin had approached us about possibly doing their trash collection for them. We council came up with some parameters for me to go back to them with, and this is what we came up with, and this is the proposal we made to them, which they accepted. So trash collection agreement would go into effect September 1st, 2025. Our first collection will be September 5th. The agreement will be valid through December 31st of 2029. Their current contract ends August 31st. I wanted to get this on a calendar year so it's easier for budgeting, so it doesn't end mid-year. So it'd be 4 months in 2025, and then full years in 26 to 9. Trash collection would occur every Friday in Rankin. Swissvale will collect from 656 homes. That does not include Heritage Highlands or Palisades Plaza. Those have private collections, so we would not be responsible for collecting the trash at those multifamily units. Rankin would pay us $58,333.33 for the remainder of this year. The rate would stay the same for next year at $175,000, which equals $175,000 annually. There would be a 5% increase each subsequent year of the contract. And then the final year, that would be $202,584.37. Rankin will pay us monthly upon being invoiced. They'll be invoiced the first week of the month, payment due by the 30th. We have the right to renegotiate the contract if there's an increase of more than 15% in landfills or regulatory fees involved with dumping at the landfill at any time during the contract period. Swissvale has the right to increase the contract amount if it's found that the tonnage is being collected or more than 10% over 509 tons Rankin reported being collected last year. So if that number was off, and we can increase the contract commensurately. The collection performed shall be for an unlimited amount of bags and or cans of household waste weekly. Only one bulky item per week is permitted, and we will not remove house or apartment cleanouts and move outs or trash from vacant properties. The contract does not include recycling, e-waste, household hazardous waste, freon-containing appliances, building or demolition materials, concrete, bricks, blocks, gravel, dirt, sod, auto parts, batteries, tires, scrap metal, and loose trash and cans. These are basically all the issues we've found in other municipalities. So we'd lump them in, that we're not doing that, right in the contract. Swissvale will provide a dumpster at the Rankin Municipal Building and provide weekly collection of the dumpster. Why this isn't cooperating? And the last bullet point is I can't get up there. It says Swissvale is permitted to negotiate with business owners or apartment owners to collect their trash and be paid directly by the property owners. So that's the bullet point summary of the agreement with Rankin. What we need to do there is, if we're going to move forward, is we need to pass an ordinance to adopt an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Rankin to participate in this, and then we would actually have to approve the intergovernmental cooperation agreement. The agreement and the ordinance were both provided to everyone. The bullet points I just gave you are pretty much what the agreement says.
Any discussion or thoughts?
This is Kevin. Just one quick question. Is there an increase to our insurance or other costs that we're not thinking of?
Yeah, there will be an increase, in workers' comp insurance, because of it goes with payroll. So if there's any overtime incurred, yes, there'll be an increase in the workers' comp, because you rectified at the end of the year with what the payroll was. But we're using the existing staff to do this, so they're being paid one way or another. So that'll be minimal. We're not adding any vehicles, so there won't be any insurance increases there. But I mean, you have increases such in fuel, vehicle maintenance, everything down the line. What I did was I just took the budget that we use for ourselves and then filled it in with the amount of labor, the landfill costs and everything else in to arrive at the number, and then we added in a profit for the borough, because we're not doing this for free. We're doing it we're doing it to make money, but also it helps them save money over their current contract and what their option year is. So
thank you, Greg. Do we have an estimate on the profit, just so we know?
I'm a little reluctant to state it.
Why don't you
I can send it to
Mr. Haynes,
everyone.
yeah, can you send it to him in the meantime? I know that's something that we've often kept a little bit closer to the chest in like executive session of we don't want to publicize the amount of money we're making, because we don't want people to come back and try to undercut our contract. So would that be acceptable, Mr. Haynes, for him to reach out to you individually?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you. Makes sense.
So if you want to make this an agenda, and really, if we want to do this, it has to be done next week. I mean, it's, because then we're into September and the contract would start September 1st.
Not hearing any complaints about it. Let's add it to the agenda for next week.
Sorry, I was gonna, I clicked in kind of late. I was just gonna say, with this, I think that it's a good thing for us and for Rankin. We get to help them. We get to make a little bit of money. But I think it's important, and maybe this is a discussion for like the DPW committee, just ensuring that Swissvale, that our services can't lack because we are doing this. Because I know that trash is a point of contention with a lot of residents, and it might be something that we need to, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, just that maybe we need to dive into how we are doing our services, not just in Swissvale, but to also give Rankin a good service. Like I said, maybe that's a DPW committee discussion, not really a necessary right now.
Yeah, fair comments. Absolutely. All right, I don't hear anything else. We'll add that to the agenda next week for both of those motions, the ordinance as well as the agreement. Let's move down to 4G, similar theme, discuss an ordinance to approve an agreement with Braddock Hills for shared police services.
So I'll share the screen again. And so we've been discussing this for a number of years. Actually has been a number of years. And we're at the point where we're looking to move forward with this with the, the discussion has been with the date of January 1st, 2026 to begin operations. So I'll just go through what's in the agreement. These are the highlights of the agreement. There's some technical things in there, but these are the things that, that I think everybody needs to know. So to make an informed decision, council has the agreement, council has the ordinance. So everybody has been supplied with the latest version of everything. So everybody understands the police department will be a totally separate agency, not a borough department anymore. It will be governed by a board of directors appointed by Swissvale and Braddock Hills. It'll be governed by a 7-member board with 5 representatives from Swissvale and 2 from Braddock Hills. The 5 members from Swissvale will include the mayor and 4 council members. And the next agenda item is the process for, in tonight's discussions to discuss the process for appointment. No name for the department has been chosen. It'll be one of the first order of business for the new directors. That's one of the first things people ask us when they ask about what's the name. So that's for the board to decide what their name is. The board of directors will meet monthly to conduct routine business, authorize the payment of bills, and address any issues before them. The meetings of the board of directors shall be public meetings with agendas provided to the board members in advance and posted on the department's website for the public to view. Public will have an opportunity to provide public comment at the beginning of each meeting, just like we do at the council meetings. The police department will consist of 18 full-time officers supplemented by part-time officers who work the equivalent of 2 additional full-time officers. So there'll be 20 equivalent full-time police officers. There'll be a full-time administrative assistant and a part-time bookkeeper. All current full-time officers in Swissvale, which there are 15, and Braddock Hills, which there are 1, will be retained, and there will be 2 new full-time officers hired. The current administrative assistant will be retained, and a part-time bookkeeper will be hired. Discussions will occur with current part-time officers to determine if they wish to be retained and how they can be best utilized in the new department. There will be between 3 and 5 police officers on duty at any given time. The goal is to have 3 patrol officers and 1 supervisor on each shift throughout the week. The primary police station will be located in Swissvale, currently on Evans Street, until the new municipal building is done. And then the police department will relocate to the new municipal building in Swissvale. They will be a tenant, and they will pay rent to the borough for the use of that space. There will be an unmanned substation at the Braddock Hills Municipal Building for on-duty officers who are patrolling that area, that they can stop there if they need to complete reports, or if a resident from Braddock Hills needs to meet with them, rather than that resident having to come down to Swissvale. They can call 911 and arrange to meet at the Braddock Hills building. Swissvale and Braddock Hills will be divided into 3 patrol zones, with parts of all 3 patrol zones in Swissvale, and 2 of the patrol zones will cover Braddock Hills. So, but those 2 that cover Braddock Hills, part of it's Braddock Hills, part of it's Swissvale, and the other one, same thing. The area around Regent Square and on this side of the Parkway, where like Church Street over and like down to the existing borough building, will be included as 1 patrol zone in Swissvale. The anticipated first-year costs are anticipated to be approximately $3,302,000, which are offset by revenues of approximately $258,000. The majority of that is state pension aid that comes from the state to offset the pension costs. That's around $200,000 to $205,000. Braddock Hills will chip in $565,000 for a total cost of $2.479 million. Swissville will see a loss of revenue of approximately $188,000. Two main sources, which are the loss of the state pension aid, which is a revenue source in our budget, and also the loss of the $81,000 a year that Braddock Hills currently pays us to patrol Braddock Hills on the weekends. So the net cost to us will be $2,667,000 in 2026, which is a 4.17% increase over our current annual cost. These estimates are based on a worst case scenario for healthcare and workers' comp benefit increases, and it assumes all new employees will have family healthcare plans, which are the most expensive. If the healthcare doesn't go up more, if I factored in 10% increase in healthcare, I think 10 or 12% increase in workers' comp, and like I said, the higher cost family plans. If those increases come in less and we don't have the family plans, then the numbers will be lower and it'll be less than a 4% increase. We do have a $150,000 grant to offset some of the proposed expenses, including a portion of the chief's salary for the first 2 years, which will lower the cost slightly. So basically that number, the $3,302,000 will be $75,000 less each year. But I wanted to give you a worst case scenario so that we're looking at, with no grants, bad numbers, bad renewals on healthcare, bad renewals on workers' comp, that it's still 4% higher. The agreement will be effective upon both municipalities' approval. It does not have a specified end date, and either municipality may withdraw from the agreement with a 2-year notice. And that's basically the crux of that agreement. And this is the same thing. If you wish to move forward at this time, we would have the agreement with Braddock Hills. We would have to approve an ordinance to enter into the intergovernmental agreement and also approve the intergovernmental agreement. So 2 separate agenda items.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I had a couple of things that I had some questions on. So I'm assuming, and this is just an assumption, so you can let me know, who gets to hire and review the police officer candidates for when we are hiring new officers? Because right now we have a police committee that does the interviews. Who will be doing that for the new?
It would be the police board. It would be the 7-member board.
And I noticed that we had the withdrawal, that it's going to that you have to tell them 2 years in advance. Why 2 years in advance? If you're trying to get out of this because you can't afford it, isn't 2 years a long time to be carrying something?
Well, it gives the municipalities the ability to plan for provision of police services. It's just the recommendation that the state made in the original document. It's not cut in stone. I mean, it can be reduced, it can be made longer, but it's taken us 3-4 years to get to this point now. So to reorganize a new department, it's not going to happen overnight. So that's why it's stated at 2 years. But like I said, if it's something that makes council uncomfortable, we can change it, and I can report back to Braddock Hills that council has asked that to be changed to whatever.
Yeah, I was just concerned that if we decided that it was not working out for us for a variety of reasons, whatever that could be, it seems like 2 years is a long time to have to wait to get out of it, and a long time for us to, because before you could get out of something like that, you would have to have discussion, come to some type of whatever, and then you would have to propose it, and then you have 2 more years. It seems like maybe that time should be reduced a little bit in order to, if we saw problems, in order to get out of it, if that's what we wanted to do.
I think part of the reason too they suggest 2 years is because in that time frame you may become able to come to common ground with whatever your problems are and resolve those issues, and then maybe the department continues. And it's also, I would think so, if you said, oh, it has to be 3 months or something, it would, first drop of a hat when there's an issue, oh well, we're dropping out. Where this, it gives it, with that long time frame, it makes you commit and make things work, until, for a while. Like I said, it's not set in stone. It's not,
I mean, 18 months, 15 months. I mean, it could be something lower than 2 years. I'm not stuck on 2 years, to be clear. I'm just saying that sometimes when you're trying to get out of a contract, 2 years seems like a very long time to get out of it. Not that I'm trying to get out the contract. I want to be very clear. I mean, I have my hands up as if I'm trying to be like, no, no, no. But look, all I'm saying is if you want to get out of the contract, it just seems like a very long time. And I understand that you don't want people to dissolve a contract in a hasty manner at all. But it seems like 2 years is rather long. And if we could maybe shorten that, that would be nice. Just so that if people are feeling that, wow, this is really costing the borough a lot, if that was the point. I'm not saying it is. But if it came to the point where we're like, this is not working, and we would like to get out of it, 2 years seems like a rather long time for that to happen. If people are trying to get out. Mind you, I don't think it should be anything less than, I mean, I wouldn't say like 6 months because I think that's short. But definitely, maybe not 2 years, which seems to lock us in for a longer amount of time than we may want if we're trying to actively get out of something. I see someone's hand is up.
So this is Kevin. I just took my hand down. Mr. McTiernan, we can, through mutual agreement, shorten that time if for some reason it's not working out down the road, right?
By mutual agreement, yes,
Right.
both parties could agree with it.
At the same time, I mean, the 2 year to me, I'm not sure that it sounds long, especially when it's related to public safety, and it's such a fundamental part of the safety in our communities. I just think 2 years, but through mutual agreement, if it's a bad breakup, we can shorten it. It's not like we're all stuck twiddling thumbs for 2 years. We do have the opportunity to say, look, this isn't working out for you. It's not working out for us. Let's start a path and be done in 8 months or something. But at the same time, if we are now counting on that revenue, and we've invested significantly in the building, we need that revenue to come in to balance the budget on the building and such. I think that protects us, quite frankly.
Yeah, I'm just assuming that if say we wanted to get out of it for some reason and they didn't want to get out of it because they didn't have the resources that we have, that's what it seems like to me, that we would be the ones that would be, like if we were trying to pull away, and they were just like, well, no, we don't want to pull away. We don't want to pull away because it's more advantageous to them than it is to us. Clearly, even with the design of of how we're designing things, we're definitely taking a majority of the heft over here. So I just want to make sure that since we're taking the majority of the heft, if for some reason, I mean, clearly, this is advantageous to both of us at some level, right? But it is more advantageous for them than it is for us. In terms of what we're doing, relatively speaking, at this particular point in time. But once again, I don't think that, I just think that if someone was trying to get out of it and it has to be by mutual agreement, and then what if they said no? then how long are you going to wait before you can dissolve that? Those are my concerns, because I want to be able to, if you want to make a clean break, it doesn't have to be immediate. I definitely think that you shouldn't be doing it when you're feeling hot-headed about something. You should definitely wait and be calm. But I just think 2 years is a long time to wait and be calm when you're trying to get out of something for a variety of reasons. We don't know what the future is. But I just want to make sure that we're protecting Swissvale and Swissvale's public safety and Swissvale's ability to make decisions, and not getting locked in, because clearly it's by mutual agreement. So if we have to wait, I mean, and then what if they're not mutually in agreement? What do you do then?
Wait 2 years, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, sorry, what, Mr. Bling? What'd you say?
I didn't hear you. What did you say, Chris?
Oh, I just said wait 2 years. I mean, if you're not in mutual agreement, that's what you got to do, I guess. I mean, I felt the same way when I read that about the 2-year waiting point. That does sound like a really long time. I will say though that of the board, I mean, this isn't something that's going to be derailed with us having no impact in it. 5 of the 7 board members come from our elected officials, and so I do think that provides like really whoever is on that board will be a someone who can watch to ensure that the budget doesn't balloon or, you know, whatever it might be. So I do think that while I agree that 2 years does feel really long, especially if it does seem to be like a bad breakup kind of situation, but we have some significant ability and leeway, leverage, if you will, in that board to shape the police department or hold it to the constraints that we need it to be held to, which gives me a sense of comfort.
Mm.
It's not like we're just saying, all right, someone else go run this. Like we are
No,
as a
clearly,
Yeah.
and clearly we would take the responsibility of making sure that we're not trying to leave our neighbors high and dry, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if it came to a point where we said, wow, this really isn't working out, that it just seemed like a very long time to be able to right the ship, so to speak. And I would assume that everybody who is on it is trying to make sure that the ship is sailing very well, that we're not going in it with the thought of failures, that we're going in it with the thought of, you know, that this is going to improve all of our lives, right? But I just want to make sure that within that discretion that we would be able to, and they would be able to, you know, maybe they're not satisfied with the way things are, you know, that they would be able to get out of it a little bit quicker, or at least make those decisions in a way that's a little quicker than like having to wait a whole 2 years. I don't know. It just seems like excessively long.
I kind of disagree. I mean, yeah, 2 years sounds like a long time, but when you're trying to implement something and get it up and running, of course, you know, we're going to have to manage between the two. But the job is, and the goal is to make this a success. And like I think Chris laid to that, we will have the majority of the people on the board that if we see something that could possibly be detrimental to Swissvale, because of course we are, you know, our top priority is Swissvale, we would be able to maybe catch that and still allow that process if it takes 2 years, but in that interim, still try to can make that process to still be seamless, but not being hasty in not doing that to give allow the process to be thoroughly worked through. Because again, this is all new, but I think 2 years would give us enough understanding of whether or not okay, this might be something that we can gel and continue to, or this might be something like I don't think this is going to work, so we might want to consider maybe, you know, parting ways.
So I just want to say that I didn't mean that we like that. I was just thinking it would last. I just meant that at any point in time, like maybe we're 5 years in, right? And then we just said after 5 years, not like in 6 months or something, but after 5 years, we were like, this isn't working and we would like to dissolve it. And that to me seems like after 5 years, not immediately, because of course, immediately you have a lot of things that need to work. But like after 5 years, if we wanted to pull out, then we'd still have to wait 2 more years. And it seems to me that if we had been operating for 5 years and we knew we wanted to leave, that would be a long time. Not, and I want to be clear, not at the beginning, of course, because at the beginning we have a lot of things that we'd have to go through. But that's what I was thinking in the future, not necessary, not now at all, but in the future, if we were trying to get out of it after, say, it was in place for 10 years and we said, oh yeah, we have to move on. But I do see the point of, you know, maybe 2 years being a time where we can recalibrate things and work through things. I'm not set on that or anything. I just noticed that it just, I don't know, it just pricked me a little bit when I was like, man, it would take you 2 years to get out of something in the future. But I hear what y'all are saying.
Any other discussion on this portion? 4G?
I mean, the only other thing was I think my questions were addressed, but this is something I have thought about a lot, was just in terms of the cost And I think Mr. Batchy really helped me to understand how he really overestimated a lot of the cost that would occur. He gave us the worst case scenario, which is sometimes a good thing to do, right? So he gave us the worst case scenario. So it looks like it would not impact us financially as much as it originally did, where it seemed like there was a large amount of money that was going to come out of Swissvale's pockets and that we were going to be responsible for. And so this seems to, at least my understanding of it from the way Mr. Batchy presented it, to be a bit more equitable in terms of the monies that we would be responsible for, over and above what we're already paying, right? So it seemed like before that there was a huge amount that we would have to pay in order to implement this. And now it seems like that cost has been brought down.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 months ago, we had a meeting with some elected officials, both Swissvale and Braddock Hills, and we kind of pumped the brakes a little bit for that very reason. And both sides went back to the table, both borough managers and chiefs, to kind of go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb and cut out things that they thought perhaps where they had overestimated and whatnot, to bring a better number to us for that. So yes, I agree with that. That was one of my big concerns going into it 6 months ago. All right. Well, and as according to the budget, as Mr. Batchy showed, that what the increase to what we paid this current year, it'll be about a little over a 4% increase, which is just a little bit higher than what we might do in a normal department, but it's within the kind of the scope of what to expect in those. So it's actually not a significant increase. It's kind of what you would expect in a per year increase. So we'll put this on the agenda for next week to vote on both the ordinance as well as the agreement. Sound good? All right, let's move on then to 4H, which is similar, but to discuss the process of who are those board members, discuss the process of appointing members to the police commission, again, specifically to Swissvale, R5.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of discussions. I've talked with a couple of people on council, and there's some varying ideas of how the board should be appointed, or who should make up that board. So basically, that this is just an open forum right now for how people feel that it should be appointed. We agreed from early on. I think all of council agreed early on. The sitting mayor of Swissvale will always have a seat on the board. So that's one of the 5, because the mayor right now is in charge of the scheduling and the oversight for the police department. So this would be a logical step for the mayor to continue to serve in a police related capacity. And I believe Braddock Hills is doing the same, that their mayor will serve as on the police board as one of their 2 members. I don't know how they're going to appoint the other member, how they're going to choose that, but it's kind of irrelevant to how we choose ours. It's totally up to the 7 council members to choose how you make those appointments. So, I mean, you could say the police committee and the council president have a seat, or the council president has a seat, or you can nominate people each year. But the one thing you have to do is you have to appoint this board during the well, we have to appoint it now. So we'll do the appointments next month at our September meeting. But during the reorganizational meeting of council after the elections every 2 years, so every even year, you have to make the appointments to the police board at that meeting, because the police board by the agreement has to reorganize the following week. We're mandated by state law that the boroughs have to reorganize on the first Monday of January after an election year. So then, and then our board would reorganize for a 2-year period the next week. So having a process in place to do that would be very helpful, so that, we know what the process is, and then those appointments get made. So with that, I'll shut up, because it's really not up to me to tell you how to do it or to decide. That's up to all of you.
Yeah, I mean, I think my suggestion, and if you don't like it, that's fine. We can go a different route. But I thought something that would seem somewhat natural with the 5 people would be the mayor, as we said, the council president, basically what Mr. Batchy suggested, police committee, but the difference being is at that reorganization, instead of the police committee being appointed by the council president, that police committee is voted on by all of council. I think it would be important for there to continue to be some sense of a police committee for Swissvale, that you might have non-public meetings of just those 3 members, to deal with specific Swissvale business, 3 members plus the mayor, of course. But yeah, that was something that I had thought might be a very natural place. But again, I think the important thing is it's not appointed by the council president, but is voted on by all of council. Mr. Haynes, go ahead.
Thanks, trying to do this on my phone, 2 buttons at once. I agree with you 100%. And I do agree that it should be voted on, needs to be voted on in January in the reorganization. We need to make sure we're dispersing the authority and the power rather than just 1 or 2 individuals. So I think I strongly support that.
I think that seems the most fair, so I support that as well.
Seems like it makes sense. Definitely have to have, or you don't definitely have to, but I think it makes sense to have the council president on it, because they're the ones that are, the council president is usually our public facing face for a lot of things. And so that makes sense in terms of being part of this commission. And I also think being able to vote on it in January works. And that right now, probably the people who have been spending the most time on it, which would be the police commission that we have right now, committee, makes sense to me.
Yeah, I just definitely thought about the president to be on, and I also feel that the individuals who've actually been kind of working and learning this process as we continue to go will be a little more seasoned than trying to elect someone new for next year. So that was my thoughts. The 2 or 3 who will be still, the 2 will be grandfathered because 1 will be leaving at that time, and then going forward, whoever we can get to decide on after those other 2.
I mean, that sounds pretty consensual. Seems like we have a consensus there. So yep, I got a thumbs up there. Is that something we need to vote on? I mean, I guess we need to vote next week if that's what we're going to.
Yes.
Do we vote on that policy? Yes.
You need to, even if you've decided by consensus, those are the folks you're going to appoint, you would still need a formal vote.
Yeah. So are we voting on that policy, or are we voting on those people to next week, or both? Mr. McTiernan, it's a question to you.
I would think you're voting on those people.
And then
the fact that you select them because they're on the police committee, that's up to you. But what the agreement provides is you appoint, the mayor serves and you appoint 4 people. So,
I mean, would people feel more comfortable if we had just a single page policy that says this is how we're going to do, that it is the police committee by vote at the or reorganization meeting? Or do we just vote on the people and kind of understand that that's what is expected?
I mean, I am concerned about limiting what any future council may want to do, and I don't even know that that would be binding, right, Mr. McTiernan? They could change that.
That's the point I was going to make, that the appointments are made by council at the time they're due, and if you have a general consensus of what you want to do, that's great. But it's totally up to council at that time. They could decide, no, we want a different group or a different mix or whatever.
Okay. Sounds good.
So do we want to make this an agenda item for next week to appoint the police commission members, or do we want to wait till September after, because Braddock Hills won't vote until the week after we do to adopt the ordinance and to adopt the intergovernmental agreement? So, I mean, we can do it either way. It doesn't matter.
Well, we're on a time crunch, right? We got to get a lot of stuff done.
Okay. Yeah, we are.
I mean, let's lead the way. We're the bigger brother, sister, family member.
Well, there technically is no vacancy until the agreement is actually adopted. But I mean, there's no position until the agreement's approved. So you could do it all at the same time. You adopt the agreement and make your appointments. You're saying, Mr. Batchy, that there's not going to be a Braddock Hills vote until afterwards.
Yeah, their meeting's August 12th.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be okay doing it as long as the agreement is adopted by Swissvale first.
Okay. All right,
So just confirming, the police committee members, you all willing to sit on that board for the remaining 5 months?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so there'll be 3 agenda items then related to the police next week. Adopt the ordinance, adopt the intergovernmental agreement, and appoint the members to the police committee, to the police commission.
Sounds good. Got it.
Okay.
That's our agenda items. Let's go ahead and move on to our departmental reports. We'll begin with police. Chief Watson.
Good evening, everyone. My item for tonight involved Mr. Batchy. What was the person who was in public comment? Chernick, Mr. Chernick?
Mr. Cherniss, yes.
Mr. Cherniss. I'm sorry, I didn't want to mispronounce his name. I saw that he had a complaint early this week. It was sent to me. I had reached out and spoken with him yesterday about what's going on down there. We were aware that there was kids selling water, mostly juveniles selling water on the street. We know it was off and on. We had conversations with them. We had interacted with them. Officers had interacted with them, in a positive way, trying to encourage them. We want them to be good members of the community. We appreciate the entrepreneurialism. We want them to be successful in their endeavors, but we also reinforced with them that they can't disturb the neighborhood. There can't be trash left there. They can't take shopping carts. The things that Mr. Cherniss was complaining about, the urinating in people's property. The issue we always have is that in this case, there's multiple groups who are doing this. It's not one consistent group of people. So just because they have a negative interaction with a group, it's not the same group who's there the next day. So I'm going to reach out to the neighbors down there and work with them to address the individuals specifically who are the issue. I don't believe in lumping everybody together who's down there. A lot of them who are just kids trying to sell water for their football team, with people who are, while they're doing that, causing disturbances. So, unfortunately, I'm on vacation the rest of the week, but first thing next week, I will reach out to Mr. Cherniss and the neighbors. Officers are aware of this issue. They are actively patrolling. One of the sergeants went down yesterday and spoke with the individuals who were there, selling water, and tried to reinforce with them that they have to be good neighbors, or we're going to have to do something about this issue, which we don't want to do. We want them to be, able to do what they need to do to grow and raise their money and be productive members of the community. So, if council has anything they'd like to suggest, any comments, I'm all ears.
Go ahead, Mr. Miser.
Yeah, and I apologize. I jumped on 2 minutes late, so I only heard the second half of the comment. But as soon as I heard what was being discussed, I knew what was being discussed, because I actually just this week said to my wife, I said, we're going to hear about this in council. And the reason being is, I've seen these juveniles there for last summer and the summer before. This isn't new, but no. I've seen a noted increase this summer of multiple intersections, more trash, more coolers, multiple parts. And that's not something I've noticed in past summers. And so I have seen an escalation this year. So I had a feeling that we would be hearing about it. So yeah, Chief, I appreciate you and the officers looking into it. I fully support entrepreneurialism, and I see this as no different as the kids who set up lemonade stands here in Regent Square. But if you're going to do that, you have to do it in a respectful way and respect the neighborhood community and your neighbors. So
I think most of them are very nice individuals who are trying to just do what they're due. I think a couple don't fall into that. And again, I don't want to lump everybody together. That's not fair. You know, everybody's treated an individual, and I would like to treat each individual complaint as such. You know, obviously, you know, the trash is an issue, the shopping cart's an issue, but trespassing on people's property and urinating on their property is a more significant issue, to be accurate. So that's my plan, is I can go down and meet with the neighbors next week. In the evening when it's convenient for them. And maybe on the night of the council meeting would be a good night. And we can discuss these issues and come up with some resolution where everybody is served.
Mr. Haynes.
So do we know that this is for a fundraiser for football, or we're presuming that?
The officers interact with the kids. Some of them have stated that's what their fundraiser's for, that they're raising money for football because they play.
I literally just saw a group this evening outside of Target in Monroeville with Woodland Hills football on. I'm just wondering if we reach out to the coach and we just say, hey, we support these folks out there. They're doing really good things, raising money. Football is really important. Sports are important, and access to sports is something that's very important. Could you share with them what your code of conduct is and what your expectations are? Because they are representing the school, and we want people to say, hey, I don't need a water, but here's $1. Just like Mr. Miser said, it is like a lemonade stand. And, if this is a booster thing where they're trying to raise money to keep costs down, to have greater access to youth in the sport, I 100% support it. At the same time, people need to understand that there is a code of conduct. You can't be urinating on people's yards. The shopping carts may or may not even be them. There are a lot of shopping carts, a lot up here on the hill, because we do have a bit of a food desert up here. Also over on the other side of by the Washington Bridge. So we do have a lot of shopping carts all over. So it may or may not be them. But I think if we reach out and try to partner with the faculty over at the school and ask for them to support the code of conduct that we want.
Ms. Stribling.
I just wanted to know, are they kids from around that particular area, or are they just coming there to specifically sell?
I don't have a direct answer for you because our interaction with them has been limited, other than being encouraging and trying to make sure they're doing things the right way and not bothering the neighbors. We haven't gone down and identified them kids. We believe a couple of them live down in Woodstock because we saw them walk that way, but no, Mount Council, we haven't identified the kids. We haven't taken any action against them because, again, we're trying to balance the complaints, the legitimate complaints of the neighbors, and our desire to not interfere with kids in their hopefully positive endeavors.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Dr. Alfonso Wells.
Yes, I just want to say I'm really impressed by the intentionality of our council and our police chief in terms of addressing the issue with the children, because when this issue came up, and it wasn't even quite the same in Edgewood, the kids were not in front of necessarily someone's house and causing particular issues, but it was really bad in terms of the response to the children, as if they didn't have any type of, oh, they shouldn't be on the corner selling water at all. And it was a different type of response. And I just really appreciate the fact that everybody's like, okay, kids can sell waters, that's fine. They can't do, you can't vandalize someone's house, right? You shouldn't be urinating on someone's lawn. That is not appropriate. And leaving trash also, if you're going to be doing something, why are you leaving trash? Pick up after yourself. You don't want that. Don't do something in front of someone else's house that you wouldn't do in front of your own, right? Or if you do that in front of your own house, you probably should clean it up too, right? So I really like the intentionality of council and of our police department in dealing with this. And I'm hoping that our residents get some relief as people continue to talk about this. You know, and I do think that it's probably not all of the kids, and I don't even think he thinks it's all of the kids, that there's probably, you know, a group of people who just tend to do certain things for whatever reasons. And as we know, for those of us who have been, I mean, there's been a couple of incidences with our little book libraries, right? You know, where people are going and doing really random and weird things. And it's young people. I've seen some of the young people do it, and I've talked to some of them. I've literally hailed someone down and said, hey, you know, you need to close that door. What are you doing? And I saw the reaction of the children, young older children, which were almost young adults, but not quite, teenagers, I would probably say. And one of them was ready to like fight over it, and the other kid was like, oh, no, you stay still, and came back and like closed the door or whatever. They were pulling out books and leaving them on the floor and opening and it was going to rain, and opening every door and doing things like that. And I know I'm not the only one who's had some issues like that, but you know, even within their own group, there were youth within the group that were trying to at least stop some of the behavior. So I think that trying to address it in such a thoughtful manner is really important. And you know, and not to, you know, just immediately escalate. And it's important that our resident feels safe in their own home, you know, because it sounds like you don't want someone coming by and cursing out your family members, or coming by and urinating on your property. That's disgusting, right? That is absolutely disgusting. So we want to make sure that ends. But I really appreciate the intentionality of everybody here.
Mr. Miser.
Yeah, just one last thing, and this is kind of towards the Mr. Haynes comments. You know, unless there's something on the books that I'm not aware of, they don't have to have something that they're raising funds for, correct? Because, well, and I'll just preface this by saying, because when I see lemonade stands here in Regent Square, most of the time it's just kids getting business experience, you know, just sitting out there. They made lemonade and they want to make some money for toys, you know, or whatever it may be. And so I just want to make sure that if there is something that we're not, that we're being equal in our enforcement of it, and not just enforcing that it has to be for a cause here, but in another part of Swissvale, it doesn't have to be for a cause. Yeah, and because frankly, for me at least, I see this as a lot different than an adult sitting out there selling bootleg DVDs or something else, as opposed to just selling bottles of water.
Exactly.
You know, we have to be reasonable, you know, like
Mr. Miser, if you could explain what a DVD is for some of our audience.
Out there selling 8-tracks and cassettes, you know, all that hot media that we're all looking to get. So anyway, so yeah, that's basically, you know, and I say that just because the part of the public comment I did hear referenced, I know we do have things on the books about, you know, selling things on the street. And I think we have to be careful about applying that to children who are just trying to make a few bucks for whatever it is, whether it's for their team, whether it's because they want to buy a new, what is it they buy now? Roblox, Minecraft. Okay. Anyway, whatever they're buying, you know, I think we just need to stand behind our youth, and I'd much rather see them learning business and doing it in a respectful way than causing other mischief like Dr. Alfonso Wells referred to. So that's all I have to say on the matter.
Ms. Swartzwelder.
While I agree with everything that everyone has said about it is good to have, you know, allow these kids to sell this water and raise money for whatever they want, and there's an appreciation for the way that it's being handled with the police, I think we also need to acknowledge and maybe not have the conversation right now about it, but like, where do we draw the line? Like, we don't want to punish the mass for a few, but also Braddock Avenue has been disgusting with litter and carts and like at some point you can't just keep letting the kids get away with it. And whether that's identifying the kids and going to their parents and citing their parents, and like these are like extremes, but I think it's something that also has to be like, it's not like, hey, make sure you pick up trash. You didn't pick up trash, so we're going to let you do it again next week. They're also going to be going back to school, but in the next couple months. But maybe it's something to think about, like for next summer, so that we can be, I don't know, proactive about it, rather than letting it escalate to this point, where we have residents coming and saying like, I'm ready to leave because of how terrible I have felt in my own home for the last couple months. Yeah.
I think that's legitimate that we, again, I said that the residents' legitimate complaints need to be addressed, but we need to address it with the people who are problems. And just lumping everybody in there, we don't want to do that. We want to deal with them individually, the ones who are causing the issues. So
yeah, and hopefully you can, and like then that solves everything. But if it doesn't solve it, then like quit throwing trash on our streets.
I think you made a valid point though. It and this doesn't make it better for the residents, but it ends when they go back to school, especially in the winter. They're not out, nobody's out in the winter selling water. And it's something that I think has gained traction. Like Mr. Miser said, it's been the past couple of years and we really didn't have an issue with it. All of a sudden it's an issue in a specific location. So yeah, there's gonna have to be some thought in how we move ahead with this.
Mr. Haynes.
This will be quick. Two things. One, Chief Watson, they actually were out there and it was freezing out. And I thought it was hilarious that I'm like, guys, you're going to have to come back when it's warmer. At the same time, and I agree with you, Councilwoman Swartzwelder. Braddock has turned into a mess. And I want to make sure that the 13 people that are actually watching this, 9 of which we're on right now, all of us, the trash on Braddock is not just these kids.
No.
We have a serious problem of community buy-in along that road, and I feel for the resident who spoke, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his last name because I'm not going to do it poorly. But at the same time, I want to. It's not just them, and there's a bigger problem there. And if they, kids will throw footballs across the road at each other, and they just need to be told stop. I mean, if it weren't Braddock Avenue with 22,000 cars and it was Westmoreland Avenue, you're like, hey, Tom, don't do that. You might hit somebody's car. It just turns into something different over at Braddock Avenue.
Well, thanks everyone for the comments. I think it's given us some things to think about. Thank you, Chief and the police, for addressing and continuing to try to hold that tension of caring for the residents' needs and also supporting the kids in ways that they can be supported in this process. I know that was a pretty long tangent from the public comment that you were referencing back to. Do you have more in a report to share with us this evening?
I have nothing else to add to tonight's conversation.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for your time in that. We'll move on to Fire. Chief Wilhelm.
Good evening, everyone. I only have one thing on the agenda. I had forwarded a memo to Mr. Batchy earlier this afternoon and asked him to forward it out. Over the last couple months since I last brought this up at the April agenda meeting, I'd spent a lot of time researching the various vehicle options that were available. Because you, Mr. Ansel, requested that we look for a hybrid. So I did so. Outlined in that memo, to give you a quick summary, is they basically only make one public safety special service type vehicle that's a hybrid, which is the Ford Explorer. And the Ford Explorer, the cargo area is too small to carry the equipment we carry, because we carry a full complement of EMS and fire equipment in the back of the vehicle. The cargo space just doesn't work. I met with Ibis Tech, who's their upfitter, Shorkey's upfitter, I should say. And there's not a viable solution for us to cram 10 pounds of stuff into a 7-pound bucket, if you will, for the Explorer. So we looked at the other vehicles without looking at EVs, because EVs don't have the longevity for our use, which I think we've all talked about that even back whenever the police vehicle were looking at them as well. There is one other hybrid that Ford makes, and it's an F-150, which is a larger vehicle. And the F-150 hybrid only comes in a consumer civilian style model. And that presents several issues. One is the biggest thing that can't be overcome is the console is integrated into the dashboard, and it has HVAC ducts for the back seat and the shifter console. So we can't put a console in there to house our radio, siren, mobile data terminal, and the things that we utilize as an emergency vehicle. But I did, for the sake of pricing, because I know Mr. Ansel, you'd asked me to get pricing. There was some various pricing in there for those. But again, the F-150 hybrid. Oh, and the other thing is, I actually talked to corporate Ford reps, GM reps, as well as dealers. The biggest thing is the SFV models generally come with a heavier duty suspension, larger size brakes for the type of duty that we use, and it also ends up with less maintenance over the life of that vehicle because it's all beefed up, the suspension, the braking, etc. They also come with a separate battery system for the accessories that we use. So like the radio, siren, MDT, and that's not connected to the actual vehicle battery, so it doesn't drain it, so you can't start. It has a secondary battery and wiring harness for that, and it's built for those types of things. So with that said, I don't believe that there is a hybrid option available to us to suit our needs. And it leaves us to two other options, which would be an F-150 Responder, which again is the conventional Ford pickup truck, or back to the Tahoe. The F-150 Responder is $50,160, but because it's a pickup truck and the equipment has to be kept out of the weather, we have to put a cap on the back of that pickup truck. And because the tailgate doesn't lift like a lift gate, it has a tailgate, you can't reach in to get the equipment. You have to put a slide tray in there for the equipment, plus the normal lighting and things like that. The upfit cost for an F-150 is $15,927 from Ibitech or Ibis, and which for a total of $66,87. I did reach back out to the dealers that we got identified from the corporate reps who do sell fleet vehicles, and there's only two in the tri-state area right now in the 2025 Tahoes. There's a black one at Shorkey and White Oak, which is $57,038, and there's a red one in Palmyra, PA, which is out past Harrisburg, which is $58,970, and that's because it has different wheels on it, and they upcharge for color red because red's not their Victory Red, which is like a fire department red, is not a standard color, but they do have one of those in stock there. And again, with the Tahoes, we've done the upfit in-house because they're already pre-wired with harnesses, which cuts out half the work. And we can use some of the equipment from the existing Tahoe and move it over to that, which we've done in the past. And I have that money in my equipment budget because we budgeted for this last year $4,500. So the Tahoe would be $61,500 or $63,500. Those are I'm just reporting to you what I was able to identify. And one of the things is the Ford manufacturer rep and the GA manufacturer rep, when I told them that we keep these vehicles in service for 12 to 14 years, because that's kind of what it was supposed to be 12, but this one's 14 that we're replacing. They said, you absolutely would not want to get into a electric vehicle because the battery warranties are 8 years, and they find that they're changing them before the warranty's up or shortly thereafter. And they said you'd probably change the battery once or twice. And the cost right now, like as an example, they gave me a cost for the F-150 hybrid battery is as much as $8,500 each time you change the battery. And they naturally degrade over time. So in order to get that lifespan out of it, we would be at least changing it once during that life period if we were able to even get one. I mean, a hybrid, I should say. So I'm just reporting the facts back to you and asking for your direction on what you'd like us to do.
Mr. Haynes.
Is how many miles do we use it for a year?
It varies between 10 and 14.
Okay. And that's based on.
That's
So
based on historical data.
Okay, you take it home with you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you live out of the county, correct?
I do. It's 20.4 miles to work.
Okay, and we pay for the gas and the wear and tear on the vehicle and the insurance?
That is correct.
I'm just wondering, how do we explain to our constituents that we're paying all this money for this vehicle, and you don't live in the county even?
I don't know what to say other than there are various chiefs in other area departments that are career staffed in our area and out of county that don't necessarily live there, and also live in another county. And I'm required as the fire chief and the emergency management coordinator to respond in any hour of the day or night, which I do. In 15 years, I've missed 2 working structure fires, and that's because I was out of state. I don't, it's part of my job. It's been that way, and I would presume that you'd want to keep it that way, but I don't have any other answer. I mean, it's
interesting that you have that answer now that I sit in this seat, because when I was a constituent, and I asked you the same question 7 years ago, your response to me was, if I had children, I wouldn't live here either. So I'm just wondering, yes, you absolutely did, sir.
No, I did not, Mr. Haynes.
I was not alone. Other people heard you say that.
Well, the thing is I bought my home for quite a big investment in 2006, and I was asked to apply for that position, was hired in 2010, knowing that I was going to reside where I had bought my home. And I've lived there 19 years. I've done my job. I give 110% to my job. I take it very seriously. And I don't know what else to say.
I'm just concerned with the added expense of the gas and the vehicle wear and tear. And we're asking our constituency to spend $60,000. Now we need equipment. I understand that, but I hear a lot of complaints on how much we're spending on vehicles being taken large distances.
Yeah, and I mean, I will add, Mr. Haynes, I think the question you bring up is a valid one and is a good one, and it's one that we've kind of flirted with in my 6 years on council. And really, it's the question of take-home vehicles, the cost-benefit analysis of that. The difficulty in it is, as Chief Wilhelm said, and this goes for some of the other. I think K-9's a little bit different because they need to take their vehicles home because of having the dogs living with them. The K-9 officers living with them, but Chief Watson as well. As they respond from their home, perhaps directly to an incident, if they had to stop at the station first, does that takes extra time? If they were in an accident in a personal vehicle as they're responding to that, what does that do for our insurance? And so we've never really had the kind of deep, like I said, cost benefit risk analysis to which is actually cheaper for us to take on the liability risk of some of these individuals, these department heads having using their personal vehicles for those types of situations versus the take-home vehicle from the borough. So I think maybe that is something that we need to really sit down and have some kind of, again, like audit to determine which is the most effective and efficient, fiscally responsible method for that. So again, you're not the first one to bring that up. I think it is a valid question. I don't know that we're going to settle that tonight, but let's punt on that, but not lose it, if that makes sense. Would that be are you amenable to that?
My question is there some sort of someone that we could let's talk offline and see if there's some type of an organization we could bring in to kind of volunteer that or pay a small nominal fee to get that analysis And understand, because it is a question that has arisen and it's been brought to my attention on many occasions.
Yeah, and it has. I've heard that a bit, and we like you said, or like I've said before, we haven't really acted on that because it's a little complex. But maybe now's the time to really yeah, I agree. Let's touch base offline and see if we can find someone to go forward with that. Chief Wilhelm, I mean, I'm of course, disappointed that we didn't have that option. That's not up to you. That Ford, for instance, stopped making the F-150 hybrid in the SSV. Is that what it's called? SSV
Special
model.
service vehicle.
Yeah. And it's kind of a bummer that they just went directly from gas and hybrid to gas and electric, fully electric, because the infrastructure's not fully there yet to fully go there, in my opinion. But so yeah, I am kind of disappointed because I think that was an opportunity for us to continue to move forward with our climate action plan. I agree that an electric vehicle probably does not make sense for the way in which this was being used. If it was perhaps one of the code enforcement vehicles, that would make a lot more sense because it would just be charging overnight and would be used during the daylight hours. But yeah, so I can understand that. I think the other thing that I brought up that I still feel strongly about myself personally and would welcome feedback from other council members is I know this is replacing Assistant Chief Volpe's vehicle, and I would be of the opinion that the new vehicle should go to Assistant Chief Volpe to drive, and then when the vehicle you're currently driving, the Tahoe is reaches its end of its life and it's replaced, that you would receive the new vehicle at that point in time. That would be my opinion on it, as opposed to Assistant Chief Volpe just continuously getting the hand-me-downs. But I know I brought that up before. There wasn't a lot of discussion on it, but I would welcome if there are other council members that either agree with me, disagree with me, to kind of have a consensus about that.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that's fair enough, especially if his car is going to be replaced. And then Chief Wilhelm will get the newer 2028 edition whenever that comes out.
Chief, how long have you been driving your Tahoe?
Since 2017, ma'am.
2017. And how long has Mike had his?
I believe that he became assistant chief in 2018, maybe, or 18 or 19.
Okay.
And the vehicle he's driving is a 2011.
Okay. Yeah, I've had a discussion, with others about this, and I agree that, what I mean, we're going to make sure you do get a new vehicle when it's time. But maybe now, since he's always gotten the used vehicle, maybe let's have him have a new one. And then it's not that you're not going to get one when it's your time.
That's fine.
We will take care of you, Chief.
I just want to be clear that he doesn't always get a hand-me-down vehicle. That was the assistant chief's vehicle when he got the job. So
and what year was it? 2018 when he received?
Yes, he was assigned, because the previous assistant chief used that vehicle as well. In 2017, whenever the new one came in.
Okay, so you wouldn't be opposed to that, though, right?
Nope, it doesn't matter to me. We just put $1,600 into that 11 to get it inspected in June, to keep it on the road, and it's old. It's 14 years old. It's costing money.
Right.
We're throwing good money after bad.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Mr. Ansel, or President Ansel, excuse me, and make that the option.
All right. Well, I don't hear anything from anyone else, so we've got 3, but that's not a consensus. So I guess we can keep moving forward. Any other questions from council members about this?
Oh, sorry, I was
Oh, sorry, Chris. I do support what your position was. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dr. Alfonso Wells. What were you saying? I didn't catch what you were saying either.
I was chewing my dinner. I'm so sorry. No, I said, I mean, if we're going to replace it, that sounds like a good idea.
To replace Assistant Chief Volpe's, and yeah. Okay,
yes, the 2011 is the one being replaced, so
yes.
we can issue that to him as the replacement.
That sounds great.
Right.
Okay. So then it sounds like we do have a consensus there. Okay.
So can I interject? Do we have a consensus or are we going with the Tahoe then?
I just don't think we have another choice other than, again, Chief, I thank you for taking my concern or my request seriously, doing the investigation and looking into it. We can't help that Ford's trying to make money the way they're trying to make money, and it's doesn't fit what we need at this point in time, but clearly they have a business plan for what fits their needs. So yeah, I'm in support of that.
Chris, should we just table this for one more month so we have the opportunity to look into the other aspects that we move? Because I think it's all connected, right?
I mean, we just had it inspected in June, so we've already crossed that threshold. That gives us some more time. Like you said, Chief, throwing good money at bad. I have my personal vehicle's a 2012, so I understand that. It's getting up there in years. I mean, I am fine to delay this a month if there is a desire from council to want to kind of process and think through some of these things. I mean, the reality is I do think we would need to, whether or not Chief Wilhelm has a take-home vehicle, I think we still need to purchase a vehicle because there is, even if he doesn't have a take-home vehicle, for instance, Mr. D'Ambrosio has a vehicle that he has here that he drives his own personal vehicle to the borough and then takes that vehicle out to stop wherever he needs to stop, etc. So while we do need to, I'm happy to investigate the take-home vehicle piece of things, regardless of where we land on that. I think there is still a need to purchase a vehicle for the administrative staff while they're in the borough at the very least.
Yeah, I think it ends up being a safety matter. The vehicle's super, super old. And I am all about making sure that we get top end electrical vehicles for our staff. But I also recognize that there are certain needs that the fire department and the police department might have that an electric vehicle at this point in time in its development is not able to adequately cover. So, we definitely want to make sure that they have all the equipment that they need and that they're not draining batteries and so on and so forth. So unless there's another vehicle that can do the job, I mean, we kind of just have to get the one that will work. Maybe maybe the next time we'll be able to get a electric vehicle, but I definitely think that we should that's a pretty old vehicle. We're going to have to replace it. Another month isn't going to make that much of a difference. We're still going to have to replace it. Yeah. I'm not sure if any other models are going to come on board in 1 month. I would like them to get that together and outfitted.
The one other issue that everybody needs to be aware of is the vehicles that we looked at back in April were gone in May. These two were allocated and they're in. They may not be there next month.
I'm actually really concerned
Elmira
that
emailed
tariffs
me.
Coming up, that might actually be a problem because what is that on the 1st? So we really probably want to move quicker rather than slower in getting the vehicles.
So, I mean, I think these are all good points. Again, I think Dr. Alfonso Wells, to Mr. Haynes's point, it was less about the model and I think more about some of the other conversations he brought up and that he and I were having, which again, I think are related. I think it is connected. But there's been a request to kind of table this for a month. I'd like to see kind of what the consensus is. Would you like to have this on the agenda next week, or do you want a month to look into some of the stuff, have some conversations about this, and wait? You can just give me a 1-sentence response. Well, with the thumbs up is to what though, Ms. Stribling? This next week or wait a month?
Next week.
Okay, we got a next week?
Next week.
Next week.
All right. So I'm going to say the consensus is to address this next week. So Chief Wilhelm, go ahead and work with Mr. Batchy to put a something together for next week. Now, we will not probably be able to vote on the financing at that point in time. Am I correct on that, Mr. Batchy?
It depends on how fast the finance company acts.
Okay.
I mean, I get the quote from Mr. Wilhelm tomorrow and reach out to the finance company tomorrow and see what they come back with. But if they have it to me by Wednesday, we could vote on it.
Okay.
If they don't, I mean, we can at least vote to buy the car, and then Chief Wilhelm can at least reserve it with the dealership, give them a purchase order for it. And then, then we'll get that vehicle. So
sounds good. Chief
So the
Wilhelm.
next question is the black one or the red one?
So I'm partial to the red one. I know it's a little more money, but I think it fits with our fleet better.
I agree, but it is a bit more.
How much more was it? I don't have the document in front of me right
about
now.
$1,800 more.
What do others think? Again, we'll get consensus. Red or black?
Black.
We got a black and a red.
I love a black car, but
all right, black.
Black. I don't know. Black.
I'm saying red.
Red. We got 3 and 2.
I mean, most of our apparatus is red, with the exception of the SUVs, which were white, because that's just the way that was the easiest one to get back then.
that is.
But everything else is red.
I mean, it's at that point, I don't think it's making that much of a difference. You might as well go with the aesthetics. It doesn't bother me one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm indifferent.
All right. We're switching votes. We got red. Go ahead and go. We got consensus on the red.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have that was you said one thing?
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Mr. D'Ambrosio. Oh, red car. Look at that. Mr. Miser.
Good evening. I have no new news to report for this meeting. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Mr. D'Ambrosio?
No, but can I talk about information received from one of our residents, thanking him for
Sure, go ahead.
Work that he's done for them. I think we got it late today sometime. A resident of Swissville just sent us a letter and how, kind and how you do your work with such patience and just, what I mean? They gave you a stellar, remark, and I just want to sentiment that I didn't get a chance to talk about for Juneteenth, but we'll get to that in the next end. But just thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Mr. D'Ambrosio, the DPW crew has been amazing. I've been seeing them working out in this heat. I know they have to take some breaks because it is so exhausting out there, but I've seen them working their little hearts out, trying to put things together and doing what they can to make our neighborhoods look great and to pick up, I tell you, my trash folks are on time every morning. Every time they come, they are there. And I mean, I can't be late taking the trash out because by 6:13 they have already come and hit my block and moved on. So they're doing a great job. So keep it up and keep them hydrated.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. D'Ambrosio. Let's move on to Borough Manager, Mr. Batchy.
Sorry about that. Just two things. First is a couple months ago, we had done some demolition clearance hearings for 2453 Woodstock Avenue and 2462 Woodstock Avenue. The asbestos surveys for those properties have been done, and Turtle Creek Cog will be putting those out to bid shortly. So hopefully they're demolished within the next 60 days or so, if everything goes well on the bids. We do have $30,000 to spend on them, so hopefully both of those get down soon. The other thing is Mr. Bush alluded to earlier in the meeting during his public comment was the climate action plan. And I have been working with Connect, with Eric Robb from Connect over the last two months or so, providing them some final information. They were looking forward to put the finishing touches on the climate action plan. They had asked if we could adopt it this month. I asked them to wait a month because I wanted to give council enough time to review it. They feel that they can have the draft plan to us by the end of this week, and then we could make it an agenda item for next month to actually adopt the Swissville Climate Action Plan. And then after the Climate Action Plan is adopted, we had talked about a climate resilience plan that the health department was heading up, and we'll move into that next, which is some implementation strategies and possibly some implementation of the items in the Climate Action Plan. And that is all I have.
Sounds great. Any questions for Mr. Batchy? All right, hearing none. President's report, I just have two things. It'll be very brief. The first is we have executive session tonight after this meeting. I prefer to do it in person, but we had something personnel that we need to have a conversation about tonight. And the second is Mr. Quinn. I wanted to give him space. He wanted to make a statement regarding a recent incident at the Edgewood Town Center. So, Mr. Quinn, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ansel. I appreciate it. So again, I'm just making a statement about the recent incident at Edgewood Town Center. I'm deeply disturbed by the recent assault on a Black trans woman in the Edgewood Town Center in Edgewood. This act of violence is a stark reminder of the challenges faced by the transgender community. We must stand united in denouncing hate and advocating for the safety and dignity of all individuals. As a council, we are committed to fostering an inclusive environment where every person is respected and protected. I urge our community to support Sisters PGH and other organizations working tirelessly to uplift and defend our trans siblings. That just struck close to home when I heard about that incident. And I just want to make sure we acknowledge that and that we reinforce that we are very much an inclusive community, because I was very disturbed by that incident.
And Mr. Quinn, I want to associate myself completely with your comments, and I thank you for bringing that to the surface. And I 100% support sisters and all organizations that are working to advance our siblings' rights across the country, let alone here in our backyard. I want to reiterate my strong stance that we are an inclusive community, and it needs to be that needs to be a value that we hold dear in every aspect. If you see someone having trouble, report it. Go help them. Do not leave people behind or aside because they don't look like you, they don't believe like you, they don't. Boomer, that's my dog. He agrees with us. I 100%. We need to stand up for each other, stick out for each other, and make sure we're keeping an eye on each other. And so, thank you, Mr. Quinn, for bringing that and raising that up.
Thank you. And just to add to what you said, content is not more important than safety. People standing around on their phones to get content for the social media is not more important than someone's life at risk. So thank you for that, Mr. Hague.
And I also piggyback on that and stand in solidarity with sisters and the trans community, not only because I have a son who is involved in that community, because we're supposed to love our neighbors as thyself. And if we don't do that, if it's based on race, if it's based on creed, sexual orientation, then, you know what I mean, we're not in order. So I definitely stand in solidarity.
Yeah, I would just like to say that disturbed people are out there everywhere, but I would like to give people an opportunity to do better and be better. So I would like to ask Chief Watson, if people see an incident happen, if they see somebody being attacked, what are some types of things that they should do that the police department recommends for them to do in order to help out the situation?
We always want people to call 911 immediately. The quicker we get notified, the quicker we can respond. I don't want to tell everybody that they should have to step in. That's an individual decision. That's what I do. I step in for a living between people when some violence is happening. But, become a good witness, get descriptions of the people who are committing the crimes, provide us good information when we show up. I mean, those are important things so we can act quickly. Excuse me.
Yeah, so you see that you have several different options of what you can do, depending on who you are as a person. But your first option is always to call for help, right? That should be your immediate first action, or at least the closest one you can do. If you're just standing there, please call for help. Don't just sit there filming something and not call for help, because help can't come while you are, filming something. Apparently. So just be aware of the things that are going on around you and be human, please. That's your first priority, is to just be human in this world, and try to be human so that everybody can be human. I know that's a weird way of putting it, but we're all human out here, right? So it shouldn't matter who you are. If someone's in distress, treat your actions just as if your child was in distress, or just as if a person you knew was in distress. And if a person you knew was in distress, if your first reaction is to, well, I'm just going to film it and not do anything else, then maybe that's not the reaction you should do, right? Maybe you should think on that and dial 911. That should be a priority, is everybody's safety. So thank you, Chief Watson, for giving us a little hint at some of the things we should think of if we encounter these types of incidences.
And if I could just reiterate that Facebook is not a reporting mechanism. If you report something on Facebook, it is not monitored by the borough. If some of us respond, we respond, but it is not a mechanism for reporting any type of incidents. Calling 911 is not reserved for absolute emergency as what you perceive to be an emergency. That's how they track all incidences in the area. Please call 911. You are not bothering them. They are happy to take your call.
I think that was well stated by everyone. Thank you for your comments. I'm glad this individual is physically okay, and hope they're receiving the emotional support they need to deal with, the traumatic experience of an attack like that. So thank you, Mr. Quinn, for bringing that to my attention and for making those comments. Let's move on to the solicitor's report. Mr. McTiernan.
Mr. President, my items, the ordinances were on the agenda, and I don't have anything to add to them tonight.
Okay. Do we have any other new business? Mr. Miser.
I just had one question for Mr. McTiernan that's
okay.
Somewhat relevant. I did see in the news this week that Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern are going to be merging, or that Union Pacific is going to be purchasing, or it's going to be a merger. And I just wanted to make sure that we will not affect our bridge being built or the timeline of that everything that's gone to the PUC will continue as planned.
Those generally, when there's a merger, the new entity must assume all the contractual obligations of the party that's been acquired, and that would include any regulatory orders, any court orders, and also any agreements, which we have a legally binding agreement. So I feel pretty confident it shouldn't interfere. Of course, I don't know what the leadership's going to be, but I assume that that'll just be legally obligated. We'll pass along to the new entity.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. I'll ask again, any other new business before we adjourn?
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I just want to thank all the borough heads and people who participated in Juneteenth, DPW, fire, police, Mr. Batchy there, and your wife there early helping DPW. It was a great community day for everybody. You know, it was a little hot, but we got through that. And I'm just grateful, to see that the borough supports Juneteenth, and that's something we hope we can continue. That's all I have.
Wonderful. Well, I would welcome a motion to entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:04 p.m.
Motion to adjourn at 9:04 p.m.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I was going to make a motion that Chris entertains us, but I guess we're done for the evening.
Well, we're not though. I'll entertain you in executive session, I guess, right?